Everyone, welcome to Mountain Beast Mysteries. We're quickly approaching the end of the summer, into September now, and I find that this is where things kind of get interesting in the world of Bigfoot. A lot of activity seems to happen in September, October, in the fall, kind of in the transitional phase, between it being really warm out and it turning to winter. The Patterson footage was filmed at the end of October. I'm really looking forward to see what October brings, and pretty soon I'm going to be making my way out to the mountains into some more areas that are a lot more remote, and I'm really looking forward to that. But I'm going to get out today exploring and seeing what we can find out here along the North Saskatchewan River. Some people speculate that, in the winter and in the fall, Sasquatch use this riverway, this waterway, to move around. It's kind of like a corridor that they use to travel. I don't know if that's true, but it is possible. And I'm hoping that we find some interesting evidence today. I do have some plaster with me in case we find tracks. The odds of us actually finding something like that are pretty low. But we'll see. We'll see what's out there. Camping in the fall, I feel like is the best. There's a lot less bugs. It's not as freaking hot. I like a good 24 degrees. That's like a good temperature for me. I hate hiking around when it's like 30 degrees. It's just the worst. And like the mosquitoes in some of these areas are just awful. So I'm just gonna have something to eat here, and then I'm gonna grab my pack and we'll head off into the bush, and I'll check in with you soon. One thing I'm looking for is like bedded down areas. A lot of people say Sasquatch make nests. People have come across things that look like nests in Sasquatch territory. The only way to really tell if that's what it is, maybe by finding tracks around that nest as well, or hair samples and things of that nature. I know in the Pacific Northwest, there has been teams that have found some very intriguing nest-like places, usually in areas where there's like lots of berries and food sources like that. And I guess they like to hang out in those kinds of areas. And strange audio has also been recorded in the same places. So, I mean, it's hard to say. It's the same thing with these like tree structures that Sasquatch is thought to make, the teepee-like, almost Blair Witch Project-like tree structures. People think Sasquatch makes those for some reason. Is it a territorial thing? I don't know. Is it like a shelter thing? It doesn't seem to be, because they don't really provide much shelter at all. They just look really weird. So I'm not sure why they would do something like that, but the nest thing makes a lot more sense. However, a lot of them don't have like shelter, to protect from the actual elements like the rain and everything. I did read that there was somebody who found like a 12 or 13 foot or so tall sapling bent over, like pulled all the way over and down, and the end of it, the top of it, was like held down by a rock. And so whatever built it could hide underneath that arch that it made. And then a bunch of other sticks and debris and whatnot were leaned up against that on like both sides, so you can actually hide inside of it. If you don't have, hair samples or footprints taken from that area, then it's hard to say if it was actually Bigfoot, because every other animal in the forest makes bedding areas, They They just lay down on the ground. If you see things like saplings that have been like twisted, you know, that have the appearance of something actually grabbing the saplings with two hands and twisting it, then that is kind of peculiar. That takes something with actual hands to grab it. These tree structures, though, if they're not made by people and they're not natural, then what else could they be? It's like the only thing that could have made them is Sasquatch, really. But I don't know. Some of them look like they'd be impossible to be created naturally. And people are finding them in really remote areas where, you know, you wouldn't expect people to just go and make tree structures. Like, if you were gonna hoax somebody with a tree structure, you would think that you'd do it, or whoever was doing it would make it in an area where they knew people were gonna find it. But people are finding things just in random locations, off trail, where you wouldn't expect to find anything. You know, some people also think that Sasquatch reside in caves. So why would they build nests? But if they're like a creature that moves around a lot, going from place to place, they would have to bed down somewhere. You know, maybe they have different positions that they build these nests in, where they like to act as lookouts to, you know, warn others if any human beings are around. I'd imagine they'd use whatever they could at their disposal as shelter, whether that be vegetation, nests that are built by them, or caves. But I haven't seen anything strange yet. There's a lot of deadfall in this forest, and the terrain is kind of like, has a lot of dips and little hills and mounds and whatnot. Very uneven forest floor. And I haven't found anything that looks like a track yet, so pretty sure a William Rowe, if you've heard of the William Rowe encounter, he was just across the provincial border into BC, and he saw a female Sasquatch, but apparently he found what looked like a nesting area where he thought it would have bedded down for, you know, a few nights. So they have to sleep somewhere. They have to sleep and lay down somewhere. It'd be cool to find one of these areas, one of these nesting sites, though, because then you have a higher chance of finding footprints, obviously, and getting a DNA sample, collecting hair, scat, things of that nature. A lot of times I just like to stop and, like, listen, you know, just like when you're walking in the woods, take time to just, like, stop for a second and listen. And you might hear an airplane flying over, like I do right now. Or, you know, like, just take a minute to slow down and stop and just, like, look at your surroundings and see what you can hear. Because it makes a lot of noise when you're walking through the bush. You don't know what could be around. And also watch out for these widowmakers. You don't want any trees falling on you. There's a lot of deadfall. A lot of, like, big old fallen trees in this forest. And those can be pretty dangerous. And not just, like, the actual tree itself, but, like, branches fall a lot of the time as well. It can land right on your head. So it would really suck and ruin your day. There's also a lot of, like, very interesting looking mushrooms in this forest. Some of them are very grotesque looking and weird. But the forest is alive. The forest is conscious. And, you know, it's crazy how much is actually going on.